On today's episode of Locked On Oilers, Edmonton returns to California, Vincent Desharnais, and the ghost of Oilers past. All that and much more in today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers podcast. I'm your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, we're going to start off with a little bit of a preview of the game between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings, as the Oilers return to Los Angeles for the first time since last season's playoffs. We will talk about that in just a second. But also on today's episode, an interesting roster move made by the Edmonton Oilers. So who is Vincent Desharnais and what will he bring to the Edmonton Oilers lineup? We'll talk about that a little later. And to wrap up today's episode, we go to our Ghost of Oilers Past. And this Ghost of Oilers Past is a little bit, actually not a little bit, he is a fan favorite of the Edmonton Oilers and is still living in Edmonton. In fact, he has a job with the Edmonton Oil Kings. We will talk about all that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcasts. Alrighty, let's start off with the preview between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. As mentioned, the first return or the first game in, well, I was going to say the Staples Center. Let's be real, it is the Staples Center. It's not the Crypto.com arena. The streets will always remember it as the Staples Center, and it is the first time the Oilers are returning to the Staples Center since last year's playoffs, since Evander Kane threw up the 7. Yes, the Edmonton Oilers played the second place team in the Pacific tonight, the Los Angeles Kings. Let's start off with a little bit of lineup news for the Edmonton Oilers, as lines have been shuffled again for the Oilers, and an interesting name on the wing today in the top 6. So let's start off with the top line for the Edmonton Oilers, as Klim Kostin lines up for his third straight game at the top line left wing spot alongside Connor McDavid, and Kyler Yamamoto will be on the first line tonight for the Edmonton Oilers. Ryan McLeod getting the promotion from the center spot, moving over to the wing alongside Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman on that second line. Then Warren Foegele, who sounds like he will return to the lineup tonight. He is alongside Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Matthias Janmark. And the fourth line includes Dylan Holloway, Derek Ryan, and Jesse Puljujarvi. The Edmonton Oilers defense core for right now stays the same, as Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci make up the top pairing. Brett Kulak and Tyson Barrie make up the second pairing, and Philip Broberg and Evan Bouchard are the third pairing. Stuart Skinner will get the starting goal for the Edmonton Oilers after another fantastic start against the Colorado Avalanche. He even said that playing against Cale Makar is fun. So that's where the mindset of Stuart Skinner is, ready for this game. I am sure a big time game for a Pacific Division rival. Now, the Los Angeles Kings have a very interesting look to them when it comes to their lines tonight. Now, these are based off the lines against the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday. Some interesting moves for them as well. So, from last game against the Vegas Golden Knights, the Los Angeles Kings, went with Quinton Byfield on the top line, which, to be honest with you, Byfield has had a pretty decent season so far in Ontario, or at least a pretty decent run recently with the Ontario Reign. So he's on the top line alongside Anze Kopitar and Adrian Kempe. Iafallo will be alongside Philip Deneau and Victor Arvidsson. Kevin Fiala will be next to Blake Lizotte and Gabriel Velarde. And the fourth line will include Brendan Lemieux, Rasmus Kupari, and Jarrett Anderson, Dolan. The defensive pairings as well is pretty interesting for the Kings. Mikey Anderson, yes, an adult named Mikey playing in the NHL. Sorry, I just, if you're named Mikey, it's not personal. It's just, he slew-footed Leon, got him hurt. That's why I'm mad at him. But Mikey Anderson is playing alongside Drew Doughty. Almost called him Phil Doughty for some reason. Drew Doughty on the top pairing. Sean Dursey alongside Matt Roy. Alex Edler is alongside Sean Walker. And Phoenix Copley getting another start for the Los Angeles Kings. Not Jonathan Quick. Now, as mentioned, a couple of interesting things to mention with the Los Angeles Kings is Arthur Kaliev and Trevor Moore are currently injured for the Los Angeles Kings, and the Kings have also called up Jordan Spence as well for tonight. I'm not sure if he will play or won't play tonight's game for the Los Angeles Kings, but there may be some changing around of the lines for the Los Angeles Kings heading into this game against the Edmonton Oilers, but I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't, as the Los Angeles Kings are coming off a massive 5-1 win over the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday night. Goals, hat trick from Kevin Fiala on the night. Victor Arvidsson also getting a goal in that game, as well as Matt Roy. They're coming off a big game where the Edmonton Oilers are coming off a difficult result, blowing another 2-goal lead in a game where Colorado kind of dominated. The Edmonton Oilers, as somebody put, I don't remember who it was, but were a passenger in this game, and that is putting it lightly against the Colorado Avalanche. A big game for the Oilers against a division rival, a team who's above them in the playoffs, and the Edmonton Oilers have a couple of big games coming up, games in Anaheim, in San Jose, in Vegas. The next 4 games for the Edmonton Oilers are all against division rivals. All 4 of these games are, as some people put them, 4-pointers. All the points matter in this one. So let's talk about some of the underlying stats between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings heading into this one. Obviously, the most obvious stat between the two teams is the power play and penalty kill for each side. Night and day, especially when it comes to the power play. The Edmonton Oilers sit first, of course, when it comes to the power play this year with a 32.2%. Still on pace to be the greatest power play of all time since they started keeping track. The Los Angeles Kings, on the other end, 23.1% good for 15th in the league. Now, the penalty kill. This is where the Edmonton Oilers have an advantage. Of course, we know the Edmonton Oilers don't have the best penalty kill, but have been getting better recently. They have a 74.2% in the penalty killing area, good for 23rd in the league, where the Los Angeles Kings have a 72.3%, good for 29th in the league. 29th. So, if the Edmonton Oilers were to go on the power play tonight against the Kings, it would be the first best power play against the 29th best power play. Or penalty kill, excuse me. That might be where the game is won and lost for each team. Now, some interesting notes as well when it comes to these two teams. The Los Angeles Kings are really at an advantage when it comes to 5-on-5 play. At 5-on-5, the goals for per 60 minutes for the Los Angeles Kings, a 2.58, which they are above the Oilers in the standings in the NHL, where the Oilers have a 2.38. The goals against per 60 minutes at 5-on-5, a 2.43 for the Kings, a 2.6 for the Oilers. The Kings sit 15th, the Oilers 22nd. And then, here's where things get interesting, however. The Edmonton Oilers sit above the Los Angeles Kings when it comes to expected goals for per 60 minutes with a 2.76 goals for or expected goals for per 60 minutes, which would be good for 11th in the league. The LA Kings, 2.57, which would be good for 21st or 20th, excuse me. However, the expected goals against per 60 minutes for these two teams is where, again, this game may be won and lost. At 5-on-5, the Los Angeles Kings have a 2.33 expected goals against per 60 minutes, which sits 5th in the league. The Edmonton Oilers' expected goals against per 60 minutes, 2.69, which would put them 21st in the NHL. Now, this may seem quite obvious, but this game may either be won or lost at 5-on-5. If it's a game of 5-on-5 play, the LA Kings have the advantage. However, this game may also be won or lost for the Edmonton Oilers when it comes to the power play and penalty kill, the special teams game. Because if it does become a special teams game, it starts to favor the Oilers. So, heading into this one against a division rival in a game that the Oilers are sitting behind the LA Kings. The Kings are 23-14-6 this year. The Oilers are 21-17-3. So they need to find a way to win this game. They need to find a way to stagger this offense, kind of the Los Angeles Kings, but more importantly, find a way through this Los Angeles Kings team. Now, we talked about the Edmonton Oilers penalty killing and how they've been pretty pedestrian so far this year. But the Edmonton Oilers may have just made a sneaky addition, a sneaky call-up to help with that penalty kill. We will see how Vincent Desharnais will affect the Edmonton Oilers in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started using AG1 because I wanted something that bettered my gut health, that really optimized my immune system, and I wanted a supplement that actually tasted good for me. And that is exactly what I get with AG1. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your recovery, your focus, your aging, all of the things. All of the things. Plus, it's a lifestyle friendly, whether you like to eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it is all good for you. You can have it. Plus, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, all while still tasting great. Plus, it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Yes, I'm still trying to get through that cold brew habit. Either way, Athletic Greens also has over 7,000 5-star reviews and is recommended by professional athletes. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to help you look out for your health. To make this easy, Athletic Greens will give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Alrighty, moving on to the latest addition or latest transaction made by the Edmonton Oilers as they called up defenseman Vincent Desharnais up to the big club today, as a lot of people are starting to question this, or not really starting to question, but are wondering why this move was made, wondering why Vincent Desharnais got the call-up, and just how this affects the Oilers. So we will address some of those questions, or all of those questions, in today's segment here with Vincent Desharnais. Now, with Vincent Desharnais, some people may not be familiar with Vincent Desharnais. Vincent Desharnais, coming into the training camp this year, was somebody who was kind of a favorite within the Edmonton Oilers organization to even potentially make the team out of camp. However, he did suffer an injury that set him back during training camp, was unable to really participate with the main squad of training camp, and has only played in 13 games so far with the Bakersfield Condors. However, in those 13 games, he does have 2 assists and has really, some people say, or most people say, when Vincent Desharnais is playing, it is some of the best hockey that the Bakersfield Condors have played all year, which is big for a team who hasn't really gotten a lot of traction at all this year. Now, and the thing is that a lot of people are questioning too. Yes, he's played 13 games, but then there's a guy in Michael Kesselring, maybe, who already has 10 plus goals, over 10 goals so far this year in the AHL. Leads the Bakersfield Condors in goals and is a leader in AHL defensive scoring as well. So why is Desharnais getting a look? Well, here's why. Now, as mentioned, Bakersfield has played some of their best hockey with him on the ice. And this is how effective he is. At even strength, Vincent Desharnais sits in the 91st percentile of the American Hockey League, the entire American Hockey League, at even strength assists per 60 minutes, sits in the 93rd percentile when it comes to even strength goals against per 60 minutes. So that means he is better than 93% of the AHL, all of the AHL, not just Bakersfield, not just the California division, all of the American Hockey League. He is better than 93% of the American Hockey League in goals against per 60 minutes at even strength. And you know, my favorite stat is that goals for and goals against per 60 minutes. And he is one of the best in the AHL. But it gets better, because we talked about those goals against. How about goals for per 60 minutes, where he is better than 97% of the AHL. He is in the 97th percentile of goals for per 60 minutes at even strength in the American Hockey League. This is Vincent Desharnais. Vincent Desharnais is also 6'7" and has been known to be an absolutely monstrous penalty killer. Bruce Kurlock, who has been writing for Oilers Nation on the Bakersfield Condors, said this about Vincent Desharnais. Vinny Desharnais is a defense-first shutdown defender. He is adept at playing both sides at the AHL level, despite being a right shot, so he can play on the right side or the left side. His size, reach, and willingness to block shots without regard for his body makes him a great penalty killer. He is a very physical player who can shut down the cycle using his body. Weird. He also isn't afraid to throw him, although the injury to his hand/wrist has prevented him from doing so. The issue for Desharnais at the NHL level, now this is a big thing, will be his lateral mobility. East-west attacks give him challenges, and players who put the puck into the triangle between his feet and stick do as well. His passing skills will be challenged as well at this level. Can he outlet the puck to skilled players in tight windows? He played a lot with Philip Broberg in a 1D pairing with the Condors, and he says he'll be curious when he plays how he's deployed. So, from that, kind of similar to a Markus Niemelainen. However, Markus Niemelainen is evidently a better skater than Vincent Desharnais, so a little bit goes to Niemelainen there. However, as mentioned, those are some of the big things that is really why he got the call up as opposed to Michael Kesselring. He is a great penalty killer, very physical, who can shut down the cycle using his body. Isn't that something the Edmonton Oilers have been missing? Look at even the Colorado game, how much other teams can cycle in the Edmonton Oilers zone, and the Edmonton Oilers don't have an Adam Larsson anymore. Imagine if the Oilers had Adam Larsson. Because he's a player who is able to shut down cycles, end the cycle. And hey, Adam Larsson isn't exactly the greatest guy at moving the puck either, but he's great at at shutting down the other team from moving the puck. And that is what Vincent Desharnais is good at. I'm not comparing him to Adam Larsson. I have seen, however, Bob Stauffer compare Vinny Desharnais to Jani Hakanpää. A guy who's seen Desharnais more than I, more than you. That is a very interesting thing to hear, I'm sure, unless you are a Bakersfield Condors fan. So, and if you have, let me know how you think Vinny Desharnais will do this year. Now, or for the Edmonton Oilers, and so far how he's done as well. Now, as mentioned, he has had the wrist injury, but he is a former 7th round pick for the Edmonton Oilers in 2016. And I want to mention this because I hear a lot of people go, the Edmonton Oilers need to draft better. They need to draft players who are going to do something other than the first round. Hey, I understand that. I completely agree. That is how you build a successful organization. Vincent Desharnais was selected in the 7th round in 2016, and he's getting the call up to the Oilers. Markus Niemelainen was drafted, I believe, in 2016 as well. Has been playing with the Edmonton Oilers. Take a look at what's going on in the AHL right now. Guys like Carter Savoy, Tyler Tullio, Michael Kesselring, Phil Kemp, even Olivier Rodrigue. Sometimes it takes a little bit. But it seems like the Edmonton Oilers are getting there. And we've seen a lot of other players, or a lot of draft picks, I should say, recently as well, for the Edmonton Oilers getting some success. Look at Jake Chason down in the WHL. Take a look at Max Warner in the WHL. Matvei Petrov. You have guys like Maxim Berezhkin over in the state, or in down in Russia as well. Even we can talk about players in the States. Luka Munzenberger, who's having a pretty solid season so far in Vermont. The Oilers have guys. It just takes a while. So let's be patient. I do know Jay Woodcroft is sat there going, sometimes you run out of patience. That's fair. I'm on that side too. But we are starting to see the fruits of the labor here. Now, Bruce Kurlock also was able to see Vincent Desharnais in person, I believe last night. It was about 24 hours ago now. But he said that Vincent Desharnais was a monster, had a great assist in his last game for the Condors, and made his presence felt. That is the type of defenseman the Oilers need. As mentioned so far this year in 13 games, 2 assists, 19 penalty minutes for him. Last season with the Bakersfield Condors, had a pretty solid year. 66 games, 5 goals, 22 assists, 27 points, had 55 penalty minutes. And then in his first full year as a pro in the AHL, 37 games played, 10 assists in that year, 36 penalty minutes. So, yes, it seems like he can't distribute the puck here or there, but clearly he had an offensive regression from last year, but he can show that he does have a little bit of offense in him either way. Now, it'll be interesting to see how he is, as mentioned, deployed with the Edmonton Oilers. But we shall see. Either way, as mentioned, the Edmonton Oilers do play tonight against Los Angeles Kings. Not expecting to see Desharnais. Maybe we'll see him in warm-ups. We'll see. We'll see, too, if the Edmonton Oilers do end up going with 12-7 either way. Puck drop tonight for the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings in Los Angeles, 8:30 Mountain Time at crypto.com, the crypt as some people call it. Let's be real, it's the Staples Center. Let's move on to the ghost of Oilers past, and this one, a fan favorite, now living in Edmonton and now working for the Edmonton Oil Kings. Who is he and why was he such a fan favorite or the Edmonton Oilers? We will talk about that in just a sec. But first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends from every professional and amateur league out there. From pro football to college bowl season to basketball and even soccer, they've got it all at BetOnline. Plus, if you love sports podcasts, which if you're listening to this one, you probably do anyways, you can find those at BetOnline as well. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. And where we are going to wrap up today's episode is with the ghost of Oilers past. This ghost of Oilers past was a favorite amongst Edmonton Oilers fans. A lot to love about this Edmonton Oilers defenseman, as he was here in the midst of the decade of darkness, a difficult time to be an Edmonton Oiler, but he was an Edmonton Oiler for basically the entire time the decade of darkness was going on. All the power to him as he became a fan favorite, one of the best defensive defensemen the Edmonton Oilers have seen in the last 2 decades, and a guy who was always in the community, always saw people out at places like Southgate, a whole bunch of places, always very active in the community, and that was Ladislav Smid. Today's ghost of Oilers past is Ladislav Smid, as on July 3rd, 2006, the Edmonton Oilers acquired Ladislav Smid alongside Joffrey Lupul and a ton of draft picks for Edmonton Oilers defenseman Chris Pronger. Yes, Ladislav Smid was acquired by the Edmonton Oilers in the Chris Pronger trade that also brought Joffrey Lupul to the Edmonton Oilers. That was back in 2006, and honestly had one of his better years as an Edmonton Oiler in that year, as he, in his first full year in the NHL, 77 games played, 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points there, 37 penalty minutes in that year. He would go on to play, as mentioned, 8 seasons for the Edmonton Oilers from 2006-07 to 2013-14. He would become the Edmonton Oilers, or at the time, throughout his career for the Edmonton Oilers, he is 23rd when it comes to goals against per 60 minutes between 2006 and 2014. He is 5th on the Edmonton Oilers when it comes to shots against per 60 minutes, and 19th when it comes to expected goals against per 60 minutes for the Edmonton Oilers, amongst all Edmonton Oilers that played for the Edmonton Oilers between 2006 and 2014. Now, he had some career highs with the Edmonton Oilers at those times. In 2011-2012, his final full season, or his second final full season, I should say, with the Edmonton Oilers, he had 78 games played, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points, which would be his career high in both goals and points. And then in 2008-2009, his career high in assists came in 60 games, 11 assists on that year, no goals, so he only had all 11 of those assists, 57 penalty minutes that year. All told, as an Edmonton Oiler, 474 games played, 11 goals, 54 assists, 65 points, and 391 penalty minutes, a guy who always went out there and played for the crest on the front of the jersey. You can never blame that guy going into a game. However, unfortunately, on November 8th, 2013, the Edmonton Oilers would send Ladislav Smid alongside, remember this prospect, Olivier Waugh, to the Calgary Flames. One of the few trades between the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames. They would go to Calgary in exchange for Roman Horak and Laurent Brossoit. The Edmonton Oilers would acquire the Edmonton Oil Kings goalie at the time for Ladislav Smid. A little bit of a bittersweet pill for Edmonton Oilers or Edmonton hockey fans in general, as Edmonton, as mentioned, loved Ladislav Smid, and Edmonton hockey fans also loved LB, as Oil Kings fans would call him. A big run to the Memorial Cup. Unfortunately, was not able to win it with the Oil Kings before. It was Tristan Jarry who would go on to win it with the Edmonton Oil Kings the following year. Laurent Brossoit left, but it doesn't matter. This Ghost of Oilers Past isn't about Laurent Brossoit. It's about Ladislav Smid, as Ladislav Smid would go on to play 109 more games in the NHL with the Calgary Flames, scoring 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points. He would also play 1 game in the AHL with the Stockton, I believe they were the Thunder at the time of him playing there. Then he said, or Stockton Heat, excuse me, not the Thunder. Why would they be the Thunder? But then he called it his NHL career. He would then go on to play in Czechia from 2017 to 2022, along with his former team, his childhood team, or the team that he played with before he would come to the NHL, Librač Bílí Tigri. I'm sure I'm saying that poorly, so I apologize for that. But he would go on to play 207 more games with Librač, 16 goals, 85 assists, 101 points in those games. 222 penalty minutes before he would decide to call it a career in 2022, early 2022, really. It was just the 21-22 season. Now he is a coach for the Edmonton Oil Kings. He's a development coach for the Edmonton Oil Kings now. Living in Edmonton, has been living in Edmonton for a little while, is very active when it comes to the Oilers alumni stuff, always active in the Edmonton community. And that is why Ladislav Smid, the Ghost of Oilers Past, was an Oilers favorite, fan favorite, because he just loved being an Oiler, and Oilers fans loved him. So thank you so much to Ladislav Smid for his service with the Oilers, because it wasn't an easy time being an Edmonton Oiler at the time, but still a proud Edmonton Oiler nonetheless. Let's wrap up today's show. As mentioned, an 8:30 puck drop between the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings, as the Edmonton Oilers open up the second half of the season and potentially the most important stretch of their season, as they go from LA to Anaheim to San Jose to Las Vegas, as 8 points are on the line on this road trip. How many can the Edmonton Oilers recoup against Pacific Division rivals? Let's wrap it up there, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I shall see you tomorrow with a full slate of a review of tonight's game against the Kings, and hopefully at the end of the game against the Kings, we can play La Bamba, baby.